Hello everyone, this is Tina with Tia's Treasures, and today I have for you the July 2023 Simon Says Stamp card kit of the month. Ooh, let's see what we have here. We have a lovely mesh bag. I have one in the pink. I love these. These will fit all your pattern paper, your entire card kit. As you can see, it'll fit everything in there. So let's see what's in our kit. Pull this all out. Ooh, lollipop. Always have to check out the flavor. Tropical fruit punch. Awesome. $5 off. We get Tim Holtz Idea-ology collage strips. Awesome. I don't have these. They come in a whole rainbow of colors already collaged up for you. Pretty cool. We get a Simon Says Stamp dot runner, which is pretty cool because my tape ATG tape gun it's not working too well right now. My husband bought me off-brand tape for it, a bunch of it, and I'm gonna have to just buy some name brand tape. It doesn't work worth a darn. Look at this. We have this beautiful embossing folder that embosses and cuts out the center. So we've got the folder and the die. Look at this. I don't know why I did that. Look at this beautiful paper. Lots of it, like a whole book practically. Wow. Foiled. That would be cool with collage strips. Wow. Ooh, I'm gonna have to figure out something for our little hearts, something to do with this. Is that one? Yeah, awesome. This is single-sided, so I don't have to worry about which side to use. Our stamp set is called Flower Happy, and it's got coordinating flower dies. Like these go together, these go together, these three go together. E1 and E, these go together, these go together, these. I think I'm going to try maybe mixing and matching a few of these up though to see what we can come up with. That might be fun to do. Anyhow, has some really nice sentiments, nice big sentiments with beautiful handwriting. So we have 7 sentiments. And here is our sheet. Flower Happy is the name of the kit as well. It's so cool. And our cardstock is this, let's see, cotton candy. It is cream colored, and what is that, 100 pound? Is it 100 pound, Nina? Yep. And rose gold. That's really pretty. I'll probably hoard that and use some other color with my embossing folder. So let's figure out what we're gonna make, and let's make some cards. Yay! So for this first card, I've got some of the pattern paper, the little gold with the gold leaves with kind of the green background, and then I took some gold cardstock out of my stash because I'm going to hoard that rose gold. It's just pretty and I didn't want to use it. I have a lot of gold, but not a lot of rose gold. So I thought I would take the sentiment just because and stamp it. And I practiced a little bit using StazOn, some VersaFine, and some archival. Now the VersaFine smeared, I wouldn't have got a good impression out of it. It smeared, and I think even heat embossing it, it just would not have looked very good. And the archival, I don't know that you can see it there, it's smeared as well. Now all of these were just stamped once because I was using a stamping block. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use the StazOn, and I'm going to use the Misty so I can stamp it a few times. Now when I went to stamp it, I realized that the just because would not actually fit there. It was going to hit that little leaf. And because stamping on foil is fussy to begin with, I thought, okay, I need something that's going to fit and not going to hit anything. So I brought in the sentiment, thank you. That fits in the center there without hitting any of the raised embossing. Now this embossing panel or folder just embossed beautifully, and I actually ran it through twice, once to emboss it and then once to cut it. Well, once that I cut it, and then I ran it through a second time because I didn't notice that I had used a plate in my die cutter that had all sorts of lines. It was very heavily used. And when you're using mirrored cardstock, that has a tendency to show up. So by running it through the embossing folder a second time after I die cut it, I was able to bring back the smooth look of the cardstock. And so I didn't have to use an additional sheet, if that makes sense to you. But I actually ran both pieces through a second time because, yeah, I had little lines on both pieces from die cutting. And when I put them back in the embossing folder, it just, it took care of any of the imperfections on the paper. Now, even though I have all this beautiful embossing, I thought I would bring in a little bit of bling, and I had some Fun Stamper's Journey little gold pearls that I'm going to kind of put around. I don't know that they made that much of a difference, but I put them there anyway just because I wanted to, so why not? So anyway, that's card number 1. And it's just a very pretty card. I did pop up the thank you in the center. I think you probably saw me do that. And it's a flat card other than that, but I thought by popping up the center we would accentuate it a bit. And you can't go wrong with dimension unless you put too much dimension and try to mail it out that way. And oh no, there goes my watch dinging in the middle of my voiceover. So took care of that. So it shouldn't happen again. So now for card number 2. For this card, I took some pink cardstock from my stash, and I cut down the piece of pattern paper. And what I am going to do with this is I'm using the dot runner. And I don't know about you, but I have a little bit of trouble with some of these smaller dot runners. They like to make, give me fits where I have to try over and over again to get them to work. So anyway, I am putting that pink cardstock on my card base, and it is just a beautiful match to this pattern paper. And I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to lay that down flat. See right there, I think I give up, and I'm like, I'm just going to glue this. That dot runner, I don't know if I got a bad one. This isn't the one that came in the kit. This is one that I've had for a while. But I might have gotten one that's not working too well. There's plenty of tape left in it. More information than you wanted to hear about a dot runner, I'm sure. So I get this centered on my piece of paper. And I am going to take the 2 different pieces of ephemera here, our 2 little collage strips, and I am going to glue them down. First, of course, I'm taking a 1/2 inch strip of cardstock, the pink cardstock, and I'm just gluing it down for a little added interest. You don't see that much of it, but I thought it might help. So I'm going to glue these down, but I'm not going to glue them down exactly next to each other. I'm going to glue them down like little stair steps, and I'm going to cut off the bottoms. And I just think these collage strips are just so much fun. There's so much you can do with them. And of course I grabbed the little pink ones because the collage strips do come in a rainbow, like a rainbow order almost. There's all different colors. They've got a vintagey look with, you know, kind of the pinky is their background color. So I am also going to stamp directly on this card front. And I'm going to use the Just Because sentiment with this card. If I couldn't use it with the last card, I'm going to use it with this one. And now I'm saving these little collage pieces because I can always use them on something else. And I have got a little double tied bow there I'm going to use on this card as well. Just a piece of white string and just a bow. I'm not going to wrap anything all the way around the card. But, you know, I looked at a few different sentiments and I decided that Just Because fit the best. And I am going to use VersaFine, the black onyx ink with this. I just love the way that stamps out. Now you might think that Just Because is all stained from the StazOn. Actually, it was the archival ink that stained it the most. And I've got both StazOn stamp cleaner and archival ink cleaner. But archival ink will stain your stamps. Along with, you know, any pinks and reds, they stain your stamps right away as well. Now when I put a bow on, I like to use a glue dot right in the center so my bow stays stuck where I want it right away. And then I also put some liquid glue on the bows as well to make sure I get even a better, well, I get it adhered better once it's dried. I don't want my bows falling off. And that's it for card number 2. I think that's very cute. Now for card number 3, I did something that I don't normally do. I see other card makers do it, but I'm using a piece of watercolor paper, and I believe it's just Canton XL watercolor paper, and I'm just going to be dabbing some ink on the bottom. Now of course smushed it. I have a little stamp a stamp pouch, and then I used that so I could see exactly where I was stamping my ink. So I put on some ink on the bottom of that, some Pawsitively saturated ink. I believe that was that might have been Fairfield. I don't have it in front of me. And then I just sprayed some water on it. And my biggest mistake was putting down the darker color first. I should have put the lighter color first, and then I could have just had small sections of the dark color, but I don't care. I still think this turned out pretty much exactly how I wanted it. Now I should have kept all these ink colors in front of me so I could tell you what they were, but you should be able to see them. I believe that I put them down in front before I did it. And now I am taking, that's some peony, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use that, and I'm going to spritz a little bit of water on my floral. And I want this to look kind of sloppy and watercolored, so I didn't mind if it didn't stamp perfectly. I didn't want perfection with this. I wanted a messy look. Now this next stamp is rose, and I should have used probably a totally different color. These two colors were really close, so I could have used the same color for both of them. The rose is slightly darker, but it doesn't make that big of a difference. Now I'm taking amethyst for the third color, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stamp that with a little bit of water spritzed on it. And then I'm going to dry this off a little bit before I start stamping the centers. I don't want to get my yellow centers smeared, and I don't want them turning different colors. I want my yellow colors to stay yellow. And you can see how that red and amethyst stained my stamp. So I've got this little bitty dot that I'm going to use citrine ink on there. And I'm going to put that right in the center. And then I'm going to take the little bitty dots that goes with these bigger flowers. And I'm going to use the same citrine ink. And I thought about not even spraying these with water, but I figured, it wasn't going to hurt to spritz it a little bit and give it that watery color look. Now when I decide to put stems on these, I do not use water, but I stamp them very lightly. Now that might be the fairway color right there, which means I don't know what color I used on the other two inks, but I am just stamping these very quickly, and I'm not pressing down hard. I don't want a perfect look on these. But I didn't spray them with water because I wanted to make sure I had a well-defined stem. Now on this third little stem there for the other flower, I didn't want the same stem I used on the big flowers. I didn't want the stem with 4 leaves. So I ended up bringing in the stem that has like 4 different offshoots. It's supposed to be a stem that you put 4 little dots for a flower. So I masked off all but one section, so it's just a straight up piece of stem. And I just used some post-it notes for my mask. And you can see right there, just stamped. I didn't bother putting any leaves in. There are some single leaves in the stamp set, but I didn't want to press my luck, so I left it like this. And I am going to I'm going to splatter this a bit using, I believe, the peony and the amethyst inks. I'm going to bring my splatter box in, and I'm going to do a little bit of splatter. Now, I don't know why I stamped on the very edge of my block there. I think it was because I thought at first I was going to put both inks there, and that was just a dumb idea. So I just used the one ink and then cleaned it up, and then I used a little bit of amethyst ink and got that all, spritzed with some water and did some really fun splatter. And I love the look of the splatter and the watercolor, and it's just a very organic looking card. And one of these days I may have to change out the paper towel in my splat box. I think that's an old shimmery color, but I'm like, it's not soaked yet, and I'm cheap, so I just leave it in there until it starts getting overly used. So last week we were in the 90s here in Illinois, and today it was like in the 70s. It's been nuts. And it's supposed to get back up at the 90s, I think, by the end of the week. And then it's supposed to be probably about 79, 80 on Saturday. It's just crazy. So I'm cutting this card panel down, and I'm using some cardstock that was in my stash. I believe it's one of the Simon Says stamp greens. I don't know which one off the top of my head, but I do know that green cardstock came from Simon Says. And it's me writing notes again. It's like, hey y'all, love you. And I do. If you've watched me this far, thank you. I appreciate it. And this is another card where I really like the way it turns out. And I'm going to take this card panel and I'm going to stamp directly on it, "You are the best ever." And I'm going to use my VersaFine black onyx ink again. because it is a pigment ink, it's going to go ahead and it's going to soak into this watercolor paper, and I really don't have to worry about it smearing on this particular paper. You have to be careful sometimes with the VersaFine ink, because it is a pigment. It can smear very easily, which I remember and find out the hard way on my next card. So I'm going to get this all inked up and glued down. So anyway, yeah, I was talking about the weather, and the thing, it just blows my mind that the 4th of July is coming up soon. It's like, it should be May. Of course, here I am doing July's card kit in June, so I mean, that's something for a change. I have no real big plans for the 4th. What are y'all doing? Going to a party, staying at home? The thing with the 4th is, you know, I have dogs, and I've come to really not like it just because of the fireworks. It's, I don't mind the holiday itself, but having animals, and every time they go out at night, it seems they'll be out there and it'll be quiet, and then somebody will throw a firework and it just scares them and they don't want to go out again. And so they're in the house cowering, and I hate to drug them up for one day. I mean, actually it turns into more than one day, especially when the 4th falls during the week, because you've got all the 4th of July parties going on in the weekends along with on the actual day. And it's just, it's nightmare for our poor furry friends. So that was card number 3, and I just love that card. I think it's because it's so different from what I normally do. So for this next card here, I am going to be taking a bunch of the blue inks. I've got a blue card base that, again, I think it's a Simon Says card, but a lot of these different pieces of paper, if it's not a full card stock sheet, I just kind of throw it in a bin, and I'm not always sure what it is. I could try to, you know, find the actual color, but until they pay me, it's just in my stash. So I took 3 different blues. I took, I want to say, Marine, Cadet, and Twilight, and I am just stamping out all over this card front. And I don't care if it's not exactly perfect, you know, it's just, we're gonna stamp all sorts of blues all over this. And I'm not doing the flowers the way they call on the front. I'm mixing and matching them a bit, just, you know, trying to have a little bit of fun with them. I'm using 2 of the bigger flowers here. I'm not using the pink one we used, or the one we used on the last card, which was pink, but I'm using 2 of them that we have not used yet, and I'm just stamping off the side and all over this card. And I'm going to be going in and filling in the centers, and I probably should have sped this up a little bit more, just but I don't mind talking. You probably mind listening after a while. But I do think this was a lot of fun, just to try to figure out where I was going to put, you know, what I was going to put where. And these flowers, even though they've got like an A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, you do not have to follow that. It's a guideline. It's not a rule. So I just kind of used the different stamps wherever I felt like putting them. Now I was trying to decide what I was going to put in the middle for this next set of flowers, and I came up with a little flower to put inside the flower, and I just think that looks really fun. And I love the 3 different blues. And I'm going to bring in another blue too. I'm going to end up bringing in Royal next after I use these 3, because I decide there's still too much space on my card front. And here is where I bring in the Royal. And now I've got this little flower here that I am going to stamp in all the places that need something. And I think this card front just is a lot of fun. And it's at this point I'm deciding what else I'm going to do with this card. I kind of just knew I was going to put blue ink all over the front with blue flowers. I wasn't going to use any, stems or anything else. And I thought about it and I'm like, you know what? I don't know if this is going to ruin it or save it, but I'm going to use some citrine, and I'm going to use the little dot, and I'm going to use that in every single one of my florals, and I'm just going to put little yellow dots all over. And it adds just enough to kind of make it pop. And, just trying to make sure that I get my little yellow dot in the center of everything. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect. I'm not trying to be perfectly centered. I'm just stamping quickly, and, it's turning out fine. I don't want perfection. As a matter of fact, I think if I tried to make it perfect, it wouldn't look good. That's when I would have to start all over. So I get that done, and now is me trying to bribe you again. It says, please like, I'm needy. And I'm not sure I spelled needy right. N-E-E-D-Y, or is it N-E-D-D-E-Y? Because it did not look right just with the Y after the D. I don't know. I might have to get a dictionary and look it up. So anyhow, if you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up. It helps the algorithm, helps me out. I am trying to increase my subscriber count, but I do appreciate every one of my subscribers. Thank you so much. And we are going to pop up this card base. Now, I have seen card makers that they have just boom, boom, boom. They put on that foam tape. I struggle with it. Foam tape likes to fight me back. But we're going to pop this up and we're going to get it down. And now I am going to heat emboss Hello Friend. If you see right next to my Misty, there is a already fussy cut out Hello Friend. Now, I cut that out without heat embossing the VersaFine black onyx ink, and I smeared it. Now, I don't know if you can tell I smeared it because I tried to fix it using a white gel pen. And while I think I could have got away with using the white gel pen, I can still see a little bit of the smeared letters. So I decided just to go ahead and do it again. I used the VersaFine black onyx ink and I put clear embossing powder over it. That way I did not have to be, afraid of smearing it again when I fussy cut it. Now, the irony is that I think I did a better job fussy cutting the first time than I did this time, but it still wasn't too bad. I'm still going to use it. So I get that all fussy cut out, and I'm not very good at fussy cutting. I mean, I do my best, but some people, it seems like they do a really good job of fussy cutting. Me, I do an adequate job. And if I'm lucky, I don't cut through any of the letters. And I don't have any really sharp points. That's if I'm lucky. And I have an ink smudge on the front of my paper. So I am going to put that Hello Friend right over the ink smudge. I'm not even going to worry about where else it could have been. It's just going to go where there is a ink smudge. And that's where it is. And now at this point, I think I should bring in some bling. Now, I end up bringing these little, almost looks like asterisks that match the color real well. But once they're down, I don't like them. But it's a little bit too late to go pulling them up because I believe it would tear my paper. So we're just going to live with it and pretend that they're not there. They don't look too bad, but I wish I would have used something else. I was trying to use up stuff in my stash because I hoard too much, And at any rate, these are my 4 cards. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you like them, if you hate them, if you think I screwed up that last one by putting those ugly dots down. And anyway, that's it. Bye-bye for now.